Hello everybody, how's it going? I'm the Timmeister and welcome back to Timbukton in episode 42 of the series. In this episode, guys, we're going to be almost completing the Timbukton Peninsula. On your screen right now, you just saw the road layout that I sort of developed off camera, and we're going to be filling in all those blank spaces. I say we're almost going to be finishing the peninsula. We won't be completing the northernmost point in this episode. That's coming next episode. But at the time that this episode is going to be released, in real life, I will have already finished that part of the map. So 1 week after this video is going to be released, I will release the episode for the northernmost point. So anyways, what is going down in this episode, guys, is we're going to be developing this area called Bluff Point, and that was a suggestion made by the user who goes by the name Daddy Gabby. He goes on to mention that way back in the 1920s, as the city was expanding, there was some nice bluffs and stuff around like the northernmost point of the peninsula and over this sort of mountainous ridge here. And the name just sort of stuck over the years, and that's what the borough was officially called. But yeah, this borough is mostly going to be residential. It's sort of going to be a little bit of a transition point for the city. It's going to be semi-densely populated, not as much as downtown, but a little bit more than the suburbs. It's going to be mostly homes that were built, I'd say like from the 40s to the 70s, sort of all mixed together. And we're also going to place down some modern apartment buildings here and there, as it's a more high-end area to live in. It's perched up on this nice rock. It's pretty high up, and it's obviously close to the Bluff Point Park, which we're going to be developing in the next episode. So it's a pretty sought-after neighborhood to live in, Timbukton. And of course, that comes with a very beautiful view for the citizens who live on the outer edges of the peninsula, because you're so high up on the cliff. You get a nice view of the bay and stuff. So in general, it's a nice place. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of exciting stuff going on in terms of like interesting stuff. It's mostly going to be residential. As I was sort of like developing this area, there's a part near the main street in this district where I found myself building a sort of like mini downtown kind of thing. I don't know, it's not really something that was planned. It just sort of formed itself. It just came to be as I was plopping away and stuff. And I think it's pretty cool the way it turns out. You guys will see in a few minutes, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see it. So along the main 4-lane road that sort of splits the area in two, there's obviously going to be a lot of commercial and apartment buildings, but it almost looks like it's almost as if this part of the city was its own little town, its own little borough at one point. And as Timbukton grew, it just sort of agglomerated all of the little communities and stuff around it. But yeah, you'll see in a couple minutes once we get there, exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll just briefly do a little overview again. But yeah, guys, as I was building up this area, I'm not sure if I was just building slower than I normally do or what happened, but it just took so long to finish this borough. I'm not sure why, but I think it took me like 5 or 6 hours worth of gameplay just to finish this part of town. And when I took all the footage, I recorded the entire thing. When I took all the footage and compiled it into my editor and sped it all up like I normally do in all of my videos, I was left with like a 45-minute episode. And I was thinking, there's no way I can release that long of an episode. There's no way that you guys want to watch me play City Skylines for 45 minutes, unless it's a stream or something. By the way, we'll get back to that in just a minute. But anyways, just to keep this episode fresh and concise throughout the whole thing, I ended up cutting out a lot of the least interesting footage through the episode. So like, plopping down residential and more mundane things like that. And I ended up keeping a lot of the more interesting stuff throughout the episode. So, just to keep it enjoyable and fresh for you guys. But I just wanted to apologize if this video seems a little bit more like jumpy and cutting all over the place and whatever. That's the reason why. Now what I want to talk about, guys, this has been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and I'm strongly considering it at this point. When I was at PDXCon, I had a chance to talk with a lot of City Skylines creators and a lot of streamers, and as I was listening to them talk about their experiences and how they stream and blah blah blah, I've been thinking, what, it would be kind of cool if I started streaming too. So I'm gonna ask you this, guys: would you like to see me stream every once in a while? I really can't make a precise schedule or anything like that. Like I could never start streaming constantly and like a full-time kind of thing. It would probably just be like random streams every couple of weeks or something. But if you guys are interested in seeing me stream, I think that would be pretty fun, and that's something that I'm willing to do. It probably wouldn't be for a little while though, as in my personal life, we're going through a move right now. You guys, if you guys watch my entire series, like since Timbukton started, 2 years ago now, I moved like 3 times, and we're gonna go through our 4th move into a new home pretty soon, hopefully, if everything works out. So, I might not be able to stream for the next couple of months, but it's something that I'm strongly considering if you guys would like to see that. I think it would reinforce the channel a little bit, and it would just kind of be fun to have like a sort of one-on-one convo with you guys. You guys can like chat up some stuff and give me tips and suggestions right there live, and I can respond, and things like that are just pretty cool. But what I'm working on right now, guys, I didn't mention a minute ago, but in this part of town, there's going to be a lot of like older style apartments too. In the last episode, we talked about old prefabricated Soviet era apartments. I'm not sure if these would qualify to be in the same category as that, but nonetheless, it's like older apartments and they're a little bit run down. So this particular area of this neighborhood along these railroad tracks here are going to be a little bit more run down than the rest of the neighborhood. It's not necessarily going to be a bad neighborhood to live in, it's just the buildings are old. But along the water, well, you're seeing me plop down these apartments right here. But along the water, there's going to be some new developments, so newer apartments that would have replaced older buildings at some point in time. But this little section of town here is going to be like medium density apartments and stuff. And like I said, it's going to be a mixture of old and new apartments. And the reason why I built that there is zooming out of the city, around these parts of town, I find there was a lack of apartment buildings because in somewhat densely populated cities such as Halifax, it's a pretty small city, but it's densely packed onto this peninsula. I try to make Timbukton much the same. There's like a ton of apartment buildings and stuff per capita, if you will, in Halifax compared to a lot of other cities in the Maritimes and even like northern New England. So, just thinking about that, I figured I would plop down a lot more apartments just sort of concentrated in this part of town. And it looks pretty cool too. I guess it would be a highly desirable area with it being by the water and stuff. That's why you would get some newer, more modern development. So yeah. And now we're gonna jump over to the other side of the peninsula on, I guess, like the inner part of the bay. This part's gonna be a little bit older, and by that, along this main road here is just going to be old houses like pre-World War II, single family homes, retirement homes. Well, not retirement homes, but like retired people homes. It's going to be a pretty nice area too. A lot of people are going to have like their own docks and stuff. And, that's just the sort of neighborhood that this is going to be. Not only that, this area is super hilly and it was really challenging to build here. And even to place down my roads and stuff, I didn't want them to be super like exaggeratedly steep, so I just had to like curve them into the terrain a little bit. But this area, I guess you could say it's like the Beverly Hills of Timbukton, and you'll see a little bit of similarities between Beverly Hills and whatever here. As swooping along these hills, in a second I'm going to make these little side roads that go in the back of some of the hills. And there's going to be some really nice houses in back. So at this point in the build, guys, the build itself, I guess, is almost complete. So now what's left to do is to detail the entire area, and I don't go really intense in terms of detailing and stuff. I mostly just stick to like the trees and bushes and rock stuff that I mostly do. But I will plop down, you know, some fences and some little parks here and there. But that is going to be pretty much the rest of this episode, just sort of plumping up the area with props and just sort of beautifying it a little bit more. But it was a pretty fun neighborhood to build, although it was quite challenging due to the terrain, of course, as you guys probably guessed anyway. But like I said, it's not really a particularly special place in town. I tried to make it a little bit more high-end than a lot of other parts in town, you know, with the modern apartments and little things like that. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I do end up remodeling like this entire area with all these apartment buildings. So I guess the build is not totally complete. I lied. But I think it takes me like 2 minutes to finish this anyway. But yeah, you know, it's an interesting area, but it's not going to be as interesting as what's to come. So with there being a couple minutes left in the episode, I'm going to explain what's going on in the next few episodes, and you guys probably already have an idea because I've talked about it like 2 episodes ago. But anyways, next episode we're going to finish the Bluff Point Park. I'm not sure if that's what it's going to be officially called. So if you guys have any good names for what like the northernmost point park should be called, drop a comment down below. So that's what's going to happen next episode. After that, I want to make an episode dedicated to public transport. So designing buses and all that and whatnot. I'm gonna give you guys some information in next episode, because the following episode after the park, I want to actually build the public transport system in Timbukton. So stay tuned until next episode, because I think it's going to be pretty fun for you guys, and for me too, because I can't wait to see what you guys are going to come up with. After that, we're going to start building Timbukton International Airport. So that is going to be pretty interesting for you guys as well. I know a lot of you have been wishing for an airport since like episode 10 or whatever. But it's finally going to be realized. Oh, hold on, I lied again. There's going to be an episode between the public transport and the commencement of the airport. I got to build some highways and stuff to, you know, go to the airport. And so much so that I had enough footage to make an entire episode on that. So yeah, after the public transport episode, there's going to be like some major highway stuff going on. And then we're going to jump into the airport. And the airport, from what I've recorded so far, it's probably going to be an entire series on itself, because it's going to be a pretty major project. You know, it's probably going to be the biggest project that we're ever going to undertake in Timbukton history. So I really hope that you guys stay tuned for that. It's going to be super cool. It's going to be super fun. I'm just super excited because ever since I've gotten back from PDXCon, you know, I'm sort of more into the City Skylines vibe, you know. I've invested a ton of hours into it lately, and I've progressed a lot more in the last month or so than I have like all summer. So Timbukton is expanding really nicely. And remember in the beginning, guys, when I said my goal for this project is to finish Timbukton in its entirety, you know, fill up the entire map with whether it be trees or buildings or whatever the case may be. I just want the entire map to look finished. And zooming out now, I'm finally starting to get the picture, you know. I'm starting to feel like this is actually possible and this is starting to come together. But it's just super fun. So anyways, guys, there's only about a minute left. I'm going to do some nice cinematics and stuff at the end of this episode, as I usually do, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, guys, feel free to subscribe to the channel for much more content coming down. I would appreciate if you left a like on this video if you enjoyed it. But yeah, guys, we got some really awesome stuff coming pretty soon. And let me know as well in the comments, don't forget guys, if you would like to see me stream in the near future. So that is all for me guys in this episode. We'll see you next week in episode 43 of the series. But until then guys, please take care.